This video is sponsored by GPD Host. They offer a variety of affordable hosting plans with flexible billing cycles. These plans include a free SSL certificate, a free domain name, website builder, and many other services, including free website migration with no downtime. To find out more, visit gpdhost.com or click the link in the description below. Hey, what's going on, guys? In this project, we're going to build a complete customer management CLI application using Node.js and MongoDB. So we'll be using 3 different Node modules for this. One is Mongoose, which is used to interact with MongoDB, create our model and schema for our customers. We'll be using commander.js, which is a complete solution for Node command line interfaces, and then also a module called inquirer, which will give us a more elegant way to create customers by asking the user questions so that they can enter their data. All right, so we're going to just demo the interface first, and then we'll jump into development. All right, now I am using git bash for Windows as my command line, but you can just as well use the standard Windows command line. And if you're on Mac or Linux, you can use your standard terminal or whatever it is you like to use. This is completely cross-platform. All right, so I called this customer-CLI. So that's the name of the interface or the application. And first thing I'll do is look at the version. Okay, we can specify a version, which is 100. We can also have the help option. So if we say customer CLI -- help, you can see the different options, which is just version and help. And then we have our commands. So add, find, update, remove, and list. You can see we also have shortcuts as well, just 1-letter shortcuts. And then it will show you the parameters or the arguments that you need for some of these, such as find. You need to add in a name, which will search the user's or the customer's first and last name. And then we need an ID for the update and remove. All right, so let's clear this out. I'm going to try to do this quick to get this demo over with so we can jump in. So let's look at the list. So we'll say customer CLI list. And you can see that we have 4 customers in the database. Okay, so this is all coming from MongoDB. We have the _ID, which is added automatically by Mongo, and then we have a first name, last name, phone number, and email. All right, now we can use our shortcut if we want. If we just do L, just like it said in the help in the help command, we can do L. That'll do the same thing. If we want to, let's say, get a specific customer, then we could do customer CLI. We could either do F or we could do find, and then we could specify a name. So let's say Paul, and you can see we have 1 match. Now notice that Paul and Sarah, they both have the last name Wilson. So if we say find Wilson, it'll come back with both of them. All right, now if we want to add a customer, we can do customer CLI, add, enter, and then it'll take us through these steps or these questions. And this is where inquirer.js comes in. So I'll go ahead and add myself here. Phone number and email. All right, so we get new customer added, and if we go and we do a list, you can see that there he is. There I am. All right, now if we want to update this user, what we'll do is grab the ID, and we'll say customer CLI, u, or update, and then paste in the ID. And it's going to take us through the questions again. So let's say I want to change my phone number. And email, we'll say bradt@yahoo.com. And then if we do a list, you'll see that those fields have been updated. And if I want to do a remove, I can just grab the ID, and we can say customer CLI r or remove, and then paste in the ID, customer removed, and now we'll do a list. And you can see that that customer is now gone. So we have complete CRUD functionality along with listing out all the customers. All right, so that's what we'll be building, guys. Now, it's not exactly a beginner tutorial. If you don't know anything about Node.js or Mongo, you probably struggle a little bit, but I will do my best to explain everything I can. If you guys have taken my Node.js Mongo Dev to Development course on Udemy, you should have no issues at all with the Mongoose and the models part. It's actually really easy, much less than what we did in the course. Yeah, so I'll do my best to explain everything, and like I said, it's cross-platform, doesn't matter what system you're on. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so we're going to start from scratch here. Now I have my Visual Studio Code text editor open with in a folder called customer-CLI, which is completely empty. I also have my integrated terminal open down here, which you can open from View Integrated Terminal, or you can just toggle it with Control-tilde. Alright, now notice I do have Git Bash as my terminal. The default is PowerShell on Windows. If you want to use Git Bash, you of course have to install it, and then you can just go to Preferences, Settings, and then just add this line right here pointing to your bash exe file. And if you're on Mac or Linux, don't worry about it, just use the default terminal that's down here. Alright, so one thing I want to mention is that I already installed MongoDB locally. If you're on Windows and you need help installing it, take a look at the MongoDB in 30 minutes video on my YouTube channel. If you're on Mac or Linux, there's plenty of other tutorials out there to get it set up locally. It's really easy. You could even use a remote instance from something like MLab. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is, just like we do with all Node applications, is we're going to run npm init. And that's going to take us through, ask us some questions. So package name, customer CLI is good. Version is good. Description, I'm going to say customer management CLI, not SLI, CLI. Index.js, that's fine. And then I'm just going to enter through the rest. Alright, so that's our package.json, really simple. Let's clear this out, Control L. And we're going to install our dependencies. Okay, so we need 3 modules. So we're going to say npm install. Now, if you're using npm 5 or later, you don't have to specify --save to save your dependencies, but I like to do it anyways, just for people that are using older versions. And then we're going to install Mongoose, which is an ORM that helps us interact with MongoDB. We're going to install commander. Okay, which it gives us a whole bunch of things to do with the command line interface. And then we also want inquirer. What is it? QUIRER. Alright, so let's install those 3 things. And those should pop up in our package.json file. Alright, so now that we have those installed, we can close this up. We will be adding a couple more things later, but we don't need this right now, so we'll close it up. So now we're going to create our index.js file. Alright, now this is where we're going to put all of our methods that are going to interact with Mongoose, with our model. So add customer, find customer, remove customer, all those are going to go in this file. Although we're going to create a separate models file for the schema, for the customer schema. Alright, so we are going to connect to Mongoose through here, or connect to MongoDB using Mongoose. So let's bring in Mongoose, set that to require Mongoose. Alright, and we're going to connect to DB. So we want to create a variable here called DB, and I'm going to set this to mongoose.connect, and then we want to pass in the location of our database. So like I said before, you could use a remote database from like MLab, and you could just stick that URL in here. We're using a local URL, which is going to be mongodb:// localhost, and then the default port for Mongo is 27017, and then we want to put our database name, which I'm going to call customer CLI. Alright, and it'll create the database automatically. Don't worry about creating it somewhere else. Alright, now if we just leave it like this, we're going to get a warning. So you want to put an extra parameter in here of an object, and you just want to specify use Mongo client and set that to true. Alright, otherwise you're going to get a warning thrown. Now you're also going to get a warning for a Mongoose promises, which are deprecated. So what we need to do is map them to the global promise. So let's say map global promise, and this will get rid of warning. So all we have to do is say mongoose.promise equals global.promise. All right, and that'll get rid of this stupid warning. All right, so now what we want to do, we'll save this file, and now we want to create our model. Now you could put your model and your schema in this file, but I think it's neater to put it elsewhere. So let's create a folder called models, and then inside models we'll create a file called customer.js. And this is actually going to be really simple. So we're going to bring in Mongoose and set this to require Mongoose. Alright, then we just want to set a schema for our customer. So we'll say customer schema. For that, we'll create a variable called customer schema. And we're going to set it to mongoose.schema. Okay, and then we're going to put in some curly braces, and let's specify a first name. Okay, that's going to be a type of string. Alright. And then we're going to have a last name, also a type of string. What else? We're going to do phone. And then we're going to do email. Okay, so that's our schema. Now all we have to do is export it so that we can use it in other files, or define and export. So we'll say module.exports, set that equal to mongoose.model. And we want to pass in the model name, which is going to be customer, and then we want to specify the schema name, which is customer schema. Okay, and that's it. We can save that. So what we've done is we brought in Mongoose, we defined our schema with the particular fields, and then we created the model and exported it. All right, so now we want to bring that model into index.js. All right, so we'll say import model. We'll create a variable called customer and set that to require. And we want to require ./models. We want to go in the models folder and then customer. Okay, you don't need to specify the .js. So now that we have our model, we want to create a couple functions. So let's say add customer. So we'll create that. We'll also create find customer. Okay, and then once we do that, we'll start to work with commander. I'm not going to do all of the methods first. I just want to make sure that we can actually use commander, and then we'll move on to do the remove and the update and all that. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and create a const called add customer. Okay, we're using function expression here. Now I'm using arrow functions. I'm keeping this, you know, as ES6 as I can. So instead of saying function like that, we're just going to put in some parentheses. This is going to take in a customer, and then we're going to put an arrow function. Alright, and then in here we want to take that customer model and call the create method, which is part of Mongoose. Okay, and we want to pass in the customer, and then that's going to return a promise. Now when you want to get that response from a promise, you use .then. Okay, and then in here it'll give us the customer, and then we'll set that to an arrow function. Alright, so all I want to do here is just log to the console. I'm actually going to do console.info, and then in here we'll say new customer added. Alright, and then we need to close the database, so db.close. If you don't do that, it's going to hang, so make sure you add that. So that's add customer. Now for find customer, we're going to again create a variable called find customer, set it to an arrow function. Now find is going to take in a name. It needs a name to find, and we're going to set that to an arrow. Whoops. And inside here, before we do anything, what I want to do is I want to make this case insensitive. Okay, now the reason I'm doing this is because let's say we have a first name of John that's capital John. I want to be able to still find that even if we put in, you know, find lowercase jon. So to do this, I mean, there's a few ways you can do it, but I'm going to add a search variable here, set it to, we're going to use the regexp constructor, so new regexp, so regular expression. This is part of native JavaScript, and we're going to pass in the name, which is this variable here, and then just specify that we want it to be case insensitive, and we do that with a lowercase I. Okay, so that way, you know, lowercase John or uppercase John doesn't matter. So now what we want to do is take the customer model and call find, and with find we want to pass in here some curly braces, and we want to use money sign or, because we're looking at two different fields. Okay, we're searching, this name should be searched in the first name and the last name, or first name or the last name. So we'll put a colon, and then we need to open up a set of brackets. Okay, and then inside these brackets we're going to put a set of curly braces, and we're going to say first name, so first name search. Basically we're going to say, you know, is whatever is in this search, does it match any of the first names? And then we'll put a comma here, and we want to do the same thing with last name, so last name search, just like that. Alright, and again it's going to return a promise, so I'm going to go on the next line and do the dot then, and it's going to give us customer. We'll set that, oops, so we'll set that to arrow function, and then we'll say console.info, and we just want to basically just log the customer, and then we also want to log the number of matches. So we'll say console.info, and I'm going to put a template string in here, so I'm going to use backticks, which is to the left of the number 1 key. This way we can put expressions in here, or variables, with this syntax, and we can say customer.length, and then we'll just say the word matches. So it'll be, you know, 1 matches, 2 matches, whatever. And then we just need to be sure to close the database. Alright, so that's our find customer. Now before we do the update and remove and all that, I want to test everything out with just the add and find. So let's go ahead and export these methods. So we're going to say module.exports equals a set of curly braces, and then we want add customer and find customer. Alright, so that's our index.js for now. Now we want to create a new file called commands.js, and this is where we're going to use Commander. So if we look at the documentation, okay, so we already installed it. Now we want to bring it in. We want to create a variable called program, set it to require Commander. Now this up here we're going to add later on when we want this to actually be a shell command. For now we're just going to use node command.js and then put our Commander stuff, you know, add or remove or whatever, and we'll do this towards the end. But basically we want to set the program, we can set the version, and then when we want to create a command we just need to do .command, put in what we want as a command, any parameters, and then the action, okay, whatever we want the action to be. So that's the basic format of how this works. So let's first bring in Commander. So we'll say const program equals require Commander. Oops. Okay, and then we're also going to bring in the functions from the index file, so add customer and find customer. So that's going to be, whoops, that's going to be from the index, which is ./index. Okay, and then we're going to take program, go on a separate line, and say version. So this is going to be version 1.0.0, and then we can also put in a description if we want. So that's going to be client management system. Okay, now I'm not going to create the commands just yet. I want to just test it out, make sure we can actually run it. So at the bottom here, we're just going to say program.parse, and you want to pass in this argv like that. All right, so let's save. And now down here, I'm going to clear this out, and we're going to run node commands.js -- version. All right, so it looks like we have an error. Let's see. argv is not defined. Program.parse. What am I missing here? Oh, it should be, I'm sorry, process.argv. All right, so let's try this again. And we get 1.00. Good, so it's reading our version. So now what we want to do is start to add our commands. So the first command we're going to add is actually add. So let's say program dot command. So it's going to be add. Now later on we're going to implement inquirer, where we can just do you know, add, and then it'll ask us all those questions. But for now we're going to have to put the data in with the command. So we're going to have the first name, and then a space, last name, space, phone, and email. All right, so that's our command. We can also have an alias, which is going to be just A. All right, we can also have a description for each command. So description will be add a customer, and then we want the action. Okay, so for the action, I'm going to put in a function. I mean, you could do function, but I'm going to use an arrow. So I'm going to put another set of parentheses, and then we'll put in our first name, last name, phone, email. All right, and then we're going to set an arrow function here like that. And then what we want to do is call this add customer function that's in our index file. Okay, and that will work with Mongoose, and that will actually insert a user into the database. So let's say add customer, and put in first name, last name, phone, and email. Okay, and that actually, you know what, this should be in curly braces like that. All right, so that is our add command. Now let's do the find. So we'll go right under it, and we'll say program dot command. It's going to be find, and then the only parameter this needs is name. Okay, so we want name. Let's see, alias is going to be F, and then description. So description will say find a customer, and then the action. So let's see, for the action, we're just going to say name and set that to an arrow function to call find name, or I'm sorry, find customer, and then pass in the name, just like that. All right, so let's save it, and let's go down here, and I'll clear this out, and we're going to try to add a customer. So we'll say node commands.js add, and let's say John Doe, the phone number, and the email, and enter, and we get new customer added. All right, so now let's do the find. So we should be able to do node commands.js find, and then we'll say John, and there he is. All right, if we try to find something that's not there, like Steve, we're going to get 0 matches. All right, so those commands are working. So now we're going to move on. Now, before we actually do the updates and things like that, the remove or the list, I want to make the add command more user-friendly. Instead of just putting it all in one line like this, I want to use inquirer so that we can be asked some questions. So what we're going to do is go up to the top of commands.js, and we're going to go right here and bring in, we're actually going to put some curly braces here and say prompt, and set that to require inquirer. What is it? RER. So we're bringing in inquirer, and then we just want to add, we want to create an array of questions. All right, so we're going to put this right here. So we'll say customer questions, so const questions equals an array, and then we're going to have a bunch of objects here. First will be a type, it's going to be an input, it'll have a name, this one will be first name, and it's going to have a message, and this is what the user sees, so we'll say customer first name. Okay, so that's for the first field. Now what we'll do, I'll put a comma here and we'll copy this and paste it in 3 more times, get rid of that last comma, and then this is going to be last name, and we'll say customer last name. This will be phone, this will be customer phone number, and then this will be email. All right, and we'll say customer email address. So those are our questions. Now what we can do is go to our add command, and what I'll do is comment this out just so you guys have it, and then put the new one in under it. So program command. Now instead of add and then all that stuff, it's just going to be add. All right, and we'll put our alias, which will be A. We'll put our description, which will be add a customer, and then for action, let's see, so for action we're going to put an arrow function, no parameters, so just an empty set of parentheses and then an arrow, and then inside here we're going to say prompt, pass in questions, and then that's going to give us a promise, so we'll say .then, and then that'll give us answers back, and we want to set that to an arrow function. Actually, since it's one line, we don't even have to use curly braces. We can just say add customer and then pass in the answers like that. All right, so that looks a lot cleaner. It also looks a lot cleaner on the front end, in the interface. So let's give that a shot. We'll save. I don't think there's anything else we have to do. It should work. So let's clear this out, and let's say node commands.js add. Okay, so customer first name, let's say, I don't know, Nate. We'll say Smith for the last name, phone number, email, we'll say nate@gmail.com, and new customer added. So now let's see if we can find Nate. So we'll do command.js find Nate, and there he is. All right, so a much more elegant way to add customers. So now we're going to head back to index.js and finish up these methods. We want to be able to update a customer. So for that, we'll say const update customer equals, and then this is going to take in the underscore ID field, and then customer. Okay, we'll set that to an arrow, and we'll take the customer model and call update. That's going to take in curly brace, and then this is going to be underscore ID, and then it's going to take in the customer. Okay, so it needs to know which one to update. That's what the ID is for, and then customer is the data. All right, and then that'll give us a promise. So we'll say dot then, and inside here it'll give us a customer, and we'll set that to an arrow function and do console.info. Let the user know that the customer has been updated, and then we'll close the database. All right, so that's update customer. Now we're going to do remove customer, which is very similar. So what I'll do is just copy this, paste it in, say remove customer, change this to remove, and then that's just going to take in the ID, not the customer. Doesn't need any data because it's just removing it. And then we're going to call customer.remove. All right, and then again that just takes in the ID, gives us a promise back with the customer that was removed. We're going to log customer removed and then close the database. All right, and then the last one we want is to list all customers. So we'll say const list customers equals arrow function, and we're going to do customer.find. Okay, no parameters because we want them all. It's going to return a promise. Inside here we're going to get all of our customers as a response, and then what we want to do is just console.info. Console info all the customers. Okay, and then we'll also do the length. Put in the template string here. Customers dot length matches. All right, and then actually we'll do customers. And then we just want to do db.close. Okay, so that should be it. Now we just need to export these methods that we just created. So let's say update customer, remove customer, and list customers. Save that. Let's go back to our commands file and let's import those. So update customer, remove, and list. All right, so now that we brought those in, we want to create the rest of our commands. So we're going to go down here. Should probably put comments, say add command. All right, so let's see. You know what I'll do is for the update, I'm going to copy the add like that. Actually, we want the program as well. And then we'll paste that in, and we're going to change, let's see, let's tab this over. Let's change this to update, change the alias to U, change the description, and then for the action, we're going to do prompt again because we want the questions again, and then we're going to get the answers, and then instead of calling the add customer, we want to call update customer and just pass in the ID. Now the ID is going to come in as a parameter right here, so we'll go like that, and then update customers or customer answer. We actually want the ID first, so underscore ID like that. Because if we look at index.js at update customer, it takes in the ID first and then the customer. So we want to make sure that we do that in the correct order. All right, so that is the update. So let's save that. We can actually test it out. So we'll go down here and let's do node command.js update, and then we need an ID. So let's see, let's do a find first just so we can get the ID. So we'll find John, we'll grab his ID, could do a control C here, and then we'll do update, paste that in. Okay, so let's just change them to Tom Doe. Okay, all right, so we got an error here. ID is not defined. Let's see. All right, so it looks like we have an error, I think, inside of our update customer. Oh, actually, no, it's not there. It's in commands. Right here in the action, this should have actually taken in _ID like that. All right, we actually don't. If you only have one, parameter here, you don't even need the parentheses. You can just do it like that. So let's try that again. So we'll clear that out. We'll try the update. So Tom Doe. Okay, customer updated, and now we'll do a find. Let's do find John first. Okay, no matches. Let's do find Tom, and there we go. So we're able to update. All right, so now we want to do the remove. Okay, we already have the remove customer in the index file. Now we need to add the command. So for this, I'm going to copy the find. Okay, let's tab that over. We'll say remove command, and we need to do remove, and that's going to also take in an ID, _ID. Alias will be R. Description will be remove a customer, and then for the action, it's going to have the _ID, and then it's going to call remove customer, which takes in an ID. All right, and that should do it. So let's save, and let's go down here. Let's add one to remove first. So we'll do node commands.js add. Let's just say test. Okay, so new customer added. And now if we did a find for test, okay, there he is. Let's grab his ID, copy that, and then we'll do JS remove, and then paste in the ID, run it, customer removed. So now let's do the find again for test, and he's gone. All right, so we now have complete CRUD functionality. The last thing I want to do is I want to be able to list out all of the customers. So we need to add that. Let's see, I'll just copy this. This will be the list command. Okay, whoops, didn't mean to do all that. All right, so list command, so it'll be list. We don't need any parameters. And then the alias will just be L. Description. And then the action is just going to be empty parameters, and then we're going to call list customers. Okay, and there's no parameters in there. All right, so let's save. Let's go down here, clear it out, and we'll do node command.js list, and there we go. So we have Tom and Nate, two customers. So everything is working as far as our CLI, our application, our functions, our database. Everything is perfect. Now what we want to do is make this an actual shell command instead of having to do node command.js from this directory. That's not what we want. So to do that, let's see, we need to first add this line right here, this user bin env node. We need to grab that, and we need to put that at the beginning of our commands file. So let's go to commands.js and go to the very top and paste that in and save. All right, and then once we do that, we just need to go to our package.json file, and we need to add, let's see, we're going to go right above where scripts are, and we're going to put in prefer global, and we're going to set that to true. And then we also want to set bin, and we want to set that to our commands file. Okay, so /commands.js. Make sure you put a comma there. All right, so basically when we call the name of our application, which is customer CLI, it's going to call node commands.js. All right, and it's going to be global so we can access it from anywhere. So let's save this. And now the very last thing we need to do is create a symlink, and that's very easy. All we have to do is say npm link. Okay, so now we should be able to call customer CLI for our interface. Now if you want to unlink it, you can just do npm unlink, okay, and it won't work anymore. So let's go ahead and do our final test. I could do it down here, but I'm just going to open up a new git bash window. That's not inside of our project folder. And let's go ahead and run customer-CLI version. Okay, we get our version number. Let's do the help. We get our help page. Let's do a list. Okay, that lists our clients here, our customers. Let's do a find. So we'll say find Nate. Okay, we get Nate. Let's go ahead and add. So we'll do CLI. We can do add, or we can just do A. And we'll add, let's say, Jack. We'll do Jack Williams, phone number, email. All right, so if we do a list again, and you can see Jack's been added. Good. All right, so if we want to update, let's copy Jack's ID, and we'll do U and then paste in the ID, and we'll change him to let's do Jill. Last name, we'll do Williams, phone number, email. Okay, so let's do a list again, and now Jack is turned to Jill. Good. So now for delete or remove, we'll grab the ID of Jill, and we'll do R, and then paste in the ID. Removed. Let's do a list, and now we only have 2 customers. All right, so everything is working perfectly. So that's it, guys. We've built a complete command line interface that does CRUD functionality to our MongoDB database. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you're not, follow me on social media. If you want, support me on Patreon. Whatever you guys can do is absolutely fantastic, even if you just watch the videos. All right, so thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next time. Hey guys, I just want to mention our sponsor, GPD Host. So if you're looking for affordable, fast, and quality cPanel hosting, look no further. They offer many types of packages that include a free domain name, free SSL certificate, a website builder, and more. All hosting plans are completely managed and easy to work with. You also get automatic weekly backups. So whether you have a website to transfer or you're building it from scratch, GPD Host is a high-quality solution. To learn more, visit gpdhost.com or click the link in the description below.